Good evening. My name is Julie Ashcraft. I'm an independent journalist. An article of mine was recently published by Rolling Stone Middle East. There are some issues and risks which come from outside, which might not have been discussed in depth before at these hearings, possibly. Many people have mentioned that Indian Point nuclear plant is near two earthquake fault lines. And we found from the Virginia earthquake that earthquakes travel faster and sharper here in the Northeast than in California, for instance, because we have more bedrock. Fracking has been shown to trigger earthquakes, and a recent report by the U.S. Geological Survey reflects this. The Russian military is currently working on geophysical weapons. About 100 years ago, the scientist Nikola Tesla, who lived in New York City and also in upstate New York, created earthquakes by inducing electromagnetic resonance in the earth. Also, the Stuxnet computer virus, which was allegedly created to stall the Iranian nuclear enrichment program, has in fact infected computers and systems in many countries around the world, including Japan. There have been some reports, which I do not know whether they've been verified, that the Stuxnet virus infected the Fukushima reactors, complicating their shutdown and contributing to the meltdown. Again, I don't know if that's verified, but it's something that should be considered. These factors contribute, to my opinion, that keeping Indian Point open exposes millions of people to unnecessary risk. And I believe it would also, even in the interest of shareholders or people who would want to promote the nuclear industry, they should also consider closing this older plant.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Evan Giller of Shutdown Indian Point Now. I'll be brief. A lot of the people up here are angry, you might have noticed. And I want to express to you of the NRC why we're angry. We are frustrated, we are at our wits' end because we believe that your work is a sham. We formed Shutdown Indian Point Now shortly after Fukushima, and we've hosted delegations from Japan, from Fukushima, of survivors. We've visited Japan, we've visited Fukushima, we've spoken to workers at the Fukushima plant. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission has never in its history refused a license renewal. Is that something you're proud of? After 3 Mile Island, after Chernobyl, after Fukushima, including plants that are identical with the plants that failed in Fukushima, within the year after Fukushima, you renewed the license. The complicity between the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the nuclear power industry, both in Japan and in the United States, are disgusting. It's something that we will not stand for. Don't get in my face.
Over here? Come on.
Stop moving closer.
Come on. You gotta wrap this up.
Stop. No, give me my 3 minutes. Stand down.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
You have a responsibility to the public, not to the industry. If you can't do your jobs, then leave your jobs. Go to the industry where you're looking for further employment. Thank you. We demand, get out of my face, Carl. We demand, I can't see the commissioners. We demand, don't get in the way. We demand that Indian Point be shut down now. Thank you. How much time is left?
We have 15 minutes for a meeting and you're holding up all
How
the
much time is left for me? How much time is remaining? How much time is remaining? Are you keeping time?
You're 3.5 minutes in a 2-minute time period.
I will use the rest of my time. Shut it down now.
Thank you.
Shut it down now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I really don't need a microphone. I come out of the fields of Mississippi where nuclear waste is floating at Fort Gibson, Mississippi, among other areas of the South, especially in black communities. So I'm already angry. I'm not here to talk about whether or not we're going to shut it down. We are going to close Indian Point. So I'm calling Liddell Lafayette Clark from the Historic Civil Rights Movement, Special Assistant to Medgar Evers, work with Dr. King officially, among other things. But I'm here tonight to say that it is time that we face reality. Nuclear energy is a thing of the distant past, standing in the way of our present. And we are going to close Indian Point. We are not going to let you put any nuclear sites in Georgia, or you're going home. You ain't gonna take it down. We're going to close them down. The important thing tonight is the wonderful people of Westchester County who are concerned about their jobs. What they're going to do, how they're going to take care of their families. Westchester County, whether you work in nuclear plants or not, as U.S. Senate candidate, I promise you I'm winning this time, and I'm winning because I've listened to you tonight. We must provide solar energy. Jobs, infrastructure issues will be dealt with. We will protect you. Don't worry about that. Just shut this thing down, because the wages of sin is death. Death to all life. Nuclear energy was born as an evil system designed to destroy the people of Japan. There's a test that not only was it designed as an evil system, it has continued as an evil system. And only a fool would want to continue it, given all the disasters across this planet. So I say to you, brothers and sisters, let's shut it down. Let's do it now. And let us not stop until the people of Westchester County.
My name is Eileen Mahmoud Jose, and I don't live in New York. I live in northern New Jersey. But this plant affects people in Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. And I've been coming to speak before you for 33 years. I got involved in college. I got involved before 3 Mile Island. You've heard it all tonight. You've heard about earthquakes. You've heard about seismic studies. You've heard about all the problems at the plant. I mean, you know about all that stuff. And yet you keep the plant open. I have to ask you why, if you're really a regulatory commission, that you let something go beyond its design basis. I mean, it's a machine. Cars can't run forever, and a nuclear power plant can't run forever. Have you seen the pictures of these babies born in Chernobyl? But their genes don't know how to make a baby? It's happening now in Japan. Does it have to happen in the United States before you close down our 104 nuclear plants and start investing in clean, safe, green energy? And we keep telling you the same thing, you come back year after year after year, and pretty much you just sit there. Hear us. Think about life. It isn't just humans, it's all creatures on the planet. Causes cancer, it mutates genes. Tritium comes out of every power plant every day, along with the noble gases. You guys know that. You can't make it safe. There are rusty pipes under the plant that you can't examine. They're not safe. We have 23 reactors here in this country, exactly like Fukushima. And how many organizations came to you and had a meeting and said these are not safe? At the very least, close down the General Electric Mark I boiling water reactors. And you said no! What's going on? Do we have to have a Fukushima on the Hudson? Do we have to have something like Nebraska again, where we came within 7 inches of a catastrophe in Nebraska last summer. Why? What is it going to take before you do what's right? Go with the safe energy alternatives. Now. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Yuki Endo, and I live in Jackson High Queens. I was born and raised in Japan and moved to New York City in February 1993. Right after that, a 3.1 a great aspect disaster and Fukushima nuclear power plant. A disaster I am not happy with the NRC. Not closing down any nuclear power plant. I argue all nuclear power plants across the world, including Indian Point and Oyster Creek, to be shut down. After the 3.11 incident, my food shopping has been very difficult because all the foods from the west coast, all the US, Canada, British Columbia, Vancouver, and Mexico has high threats of radiation, as does Japan, like Tokyo, Osaka, Fukushima, China, or Korea. For the USA, Canada, and Mexico, food and beverage are coming from the central or the east coast, whereas Thailand, Italy, Ecuador, or Broadway, where there is no nuclear power plant. In Japan and Mexico, food are coming from the Azores or the North Island. For example, my one and I only buy soda from the Olivia Organic, which is based on the east coast of USA. I argue NYC to shut down all nuclear power plant for people engendering senior citizens and people with health problems. At least we want nuclear power plant to be closed forever and replaced by clean, eco-friendly source of energy. What's happening is that risky Indian Point nuclear power plant entering recently in New York, Long Island, Connecticut, including governors, generally Ellis Island, will recover with radiation, and no one can play outside or have fun in continuing the area. New York City cannot be evacuated, as you could see in the record the day after tomorrow. Indian Point and all other nuclear power plants are extreme danger. So Sheridan and one nuclear radiation commissioner at the truth and no more by a certain the Indian Point and a certain the nuclear power plant. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you want to give me a statement? Thank you.
Yeah, Carl, are we getting a copy of that statement?
Yes,
Thank
you did.
you.
You
Okay.
did give us a copy.
And Jocelyn, thank you for helping.
Thank you.
My
Appreciate it.
name is Nedia Leaf. I live in New York City. Thank you. And I live in what would be an ideal part of Manhattan. It's a tree-lined house of street of brownstones. And 2 years ago, there was a tornado. It came down right on my block, killed several trees out of nowhere. The same storm that hit Central Park. Central Park had another storm, as you may know, in October 29th, an ice storm. Central Park lost 10% of its trees. Okay, this is all accidental, out of nowhere. That's what an accident is. I apologize to the people who lived in the immediate area of Indian Point, because until the Fukushima on March 11th of last year, I was totally unaware of the danger that came from Indian Point. And it's a very real menace. I went to Japan last July. At that point, the extent of the damage from Fukushima wasn't well known. I fell in love with the Japanese people, and I was not surprised when on May 5th, which here may be Cinco de Mayo, in Japan is the Day of the Child. That's the day they closed the last of their 54 nuclear plants. Reclaim the future. We must reclaim the future. And you gentlemen and lady, are sitting at the most critical point, because it is in your power to deny a relicensing agreement. You can do it, and you must. The future is at stake. If Japan, with a culture that goes back to the Bronze Age, BC 8 or 900, can go back in time from their technological level to shut down their plants, and Germany's going to do it, Switzerland is going to do it, Italy is going to do it, we can do it, and you can start this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thank all the people who organized this meeting on both sides. That said, I want to say, we all know what a catastrophe looks like. We know what a disaster looks like because we saw 911. I supervised for the Red Cross at that very night for 17 hours. We saw the rolls of people from hospitals, the rolls of people being dug up. We got all the telephone calls from all over the world wanting to know what happened to their loved ones. That is exactly what can happen here. I have been listening to what geophysicists and seismologists have been saying for a long time. I just want to say, as a disaster specialist and as a representative of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, which works on this issue on the San Andreas Fault, and specifically the Diablo Canyon and San Luis Obispo, that this problem is not going away. It's not going to disappear. We know that all the NRC, fortunately, has pointed out itself that 1.65 cubic feet of nuclear dirt, I want to say, but nuclear waste exists enough to fill Yankee Stadium. And this is a statistic from the NRC. And this does not go away. It stays there. It's a draw for terrorism. And we don't need another disaster here. I strongly, there's no way to get off the island. I live in northern Manhattan. For 20 years, I lived over a fault. I lived over a fault line. Let me just say this, and I felt the tremors, and we know the tremors can get larger and larger and larger. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sheila Geist. I'm an at-large human rights activist, and I've been interested in ending nuclear power for 40-some-odd years. But I became active again after Fukushima this last year.
Talk into the mic.
You've heard all the arguments about earthquakes and leakages and so on. This plant is built for 40 years, it's 40 years are up. You have no effective evacuation plan, even if it's secret, it can't be effective, like in gridlock, so just getting in and out of the city, I know it can't be. So the issue I wanted to address is that of the spent fuel rods. You don't even need a terrorist attack or a earthquake. I have pictures in my mind of Hurricane Irene devastating the town of Margaretville, where the whole downtown was 2 stories underwater. If this affects the fuel rod at Indian Point, we get radiation contamination in the water, in the soil. It spreads. You can't afford it. I'm asking you to close it down. But I understand that you probably won't because that's your history. So what I really want to do is find out something that hasn't been mentioned. Do you have a plan for decommissioning plants? Is there any money around for that? Does Entergy have money? You can answer this tonight. Does Entergy have money in place to pay for decommissioning? What plans do you have, just in case you're denied water permits and then have to close down? So, are there any plans for decommissioning in place?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. John?
I'm John Bostic from NRC headquarters. I will say in response to that question that the NRC does require decommissioning funds for every nuclear power plant. And Indian Point has 3 decommissioning funds, one for Unit 1, one for Unit 2, and one for Unit 3. And we also check the level of decommissioning funds every 2 years, and the Indian Point decommissioning funds meet the NRC requirements for decommissioning.
My name is Olive Freud. I'm speaking for the Sierra Club, the New York City group. But I will say that it was 2 weeks ago that the Sierra Club in Washington, D.C., had a convention of all the nuclear plants in all the states. People came, and we all got together. We were all very opposed to nuclear plants. We're all having the same kind of problem with the NRC, who doesn't seem to be listening to us. Do not relicense this plant. It was designed for 40 years use, and it's through. But even more profound is the fact that nuclear energy was a terrible mistake. It was a terrible mistake for human life. And, you know, I'm going to appeal to your conscience. I don't know how much power you have. But if Japan could understand what happened after Fukushima and shut down all those 54 plants, and Germany's had the brains to start closing plants, and other countries are too, maybe the 6 of you sitting up there can look into your hearts, into your eyes. How can New York, with 20 million people, and some of them are so smart, stand for a plant that's within the 50-mile radius? It is true, we've come here, after we are such smart people, but we're not smarter than the Japanese or the Germans because they already did something. But again, I'm going to say to the 6 of you, you have something, you have an ability to get something done now, and please use that ability.
Thank you.
My name is Danielle Gerard. I'm the president of 3 Parks Independent Democrats. We're an Upper West Side political club. We've met with Mr. Gray and Ms. Halter in the past from the NRC. And rather than reiterate the points that have been made earlier this evening, I would just like to urge, please, just for once, could the United States please make a decision based on reliable, data-based evidence? When you're determining to relicense the facility, it's our understanding that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission does not consider the likelihood of a terrorist attack, cancer rates, continuing radioactive leaks into the Hudson, the likelihood of an earthquake near Indian Point, the state of old technology compared to advances that have been made in the field, and the fact that someone will have to pay for the safe storage of spent fuel and radioactive waste literally forever. You are not considering these things and relicensing the plant, and I urge you, on behalf of the club and behalf of the 20 million people who live within 50-mile radius of Indian Point, please to consider these factors, because any other factors couldn't possibly mean as much as all of those together. Thank you.
Thank you.